Level 1, the porch light. You are 14, sitting on the top step of a building that has known your family longer than it's known you, when Dante crouches down beside you like he's been meaning to all week. Dante is 20. His sneakers are white in a way that argues with the sidewalk. Out here, that argument counts as a resume. You know how to work a light switch? He asks. You do. The porch bulb burns above your mother's door, on a chain you flicked 10,000 times without thinking. He explains it like a rule, not a request. Unfamiliar car turns onto the block slow, you flick it twice. Nothing else. You sit exactly where you already sit for exactly as long as you already sit there, except now somebody upstream is paying for the sitting. 4 hours later, at 9, Dante folds 2 20s and a 10 into your palm like he's returning something you lent him. $50 for a light switch you've operated your whole life for free. Your mother is a home health aide. She leaves at 3, comes home past midnight, and gets $11.75 an hour for turning 80-year-old men in their beds so they don't get sores. You do the division right there on the step, and it doesn't come out kind. $50 is more than 4 hours of her lifting people twice her weight. Math you'll run for the rest of your life, and it never once comes out kind. You don't tell her. The rule arrives without a lesson attached, installed overnight, the same way the porch light was. The apartment runs on numbers that refuse to close. Rent is $1,225, due the 1st, arriving faster each month than it has any right to. The light bill sits on the counter, marked past due in red ink, $164 of it. The refrigerator holds hot sauce, a half loaf of bread, and no room for anything to go wrong. Sunday nights, your mother rolls quarters into a sock for the laundromat and counts them twice, and you've watched her do this your entire childhood without understanding what you were looking at. You understand it now. Around your neck, on a shoelace, is a brass skeleton key your grandfather gave you before he died, the one he said opened every door that ever mattered, though you never once saw him use it on an actual door. You touch it the way other kids touch a rabbit's foot. The second week, Dante asks you to hold a paper bag in your backpack for 15 minutes. You don't ask what's inside, and he notices that you don't ask. Silence out here turns out to be a job skill. $45 this time. You buy groceries with it. Real ones. A receipt longer than your forearm, and tell your mother you've been bagging at the corner store after school. She's too tired to check, and the lie slides in easier than it should, which frightens you more than getting caught would have. By month's end, Dante says there's a real shift opening. Like a promotion letter, you say yes before he finishes the sentence. You think you're being offered a job. You are being inventoried. Level 2, the block. The rules here don't get written down, and the first one explains all the others. Everything belongs to somebody, and the somebody is never you. Your shift is 4 to midnight, $60 flat, rain included, because customers don't dissolve in weather, but lookouts start looking like liabilities in it. You learn the block's other clock fast. The sane gray sedan circling twice in 10 minutes means take a break. A man walking a dog he clearly doesn't own means the same. There's a man everyone calls Reeves, 52, 29 of those years on this half mile, in one role or another. He rents a room above the laundromat by the week and greets every kid on the corner like a favorite uncle. It takes months to understand that Reeves isn't a character out here. He's a forecast, standing upright, wearing a jacket, saying good morning. On the ground floor of the building next door sits Whitfield Hardware and Key, a narrow shop with a bell that doesn't quite ring so much as cough. Mr. Whitfield has run that counter for 22 years, and one afternoon he catches you loitering by the paint chips and says, without looking up from a lock cylinder, I pay $8.75 an hour to sweep and stock. Afternoons. You almost laugh. You clear that in 90 minutes standing still. He shrugs like he heard the math anyway. Offer doesn't expire. Most things out here do. Your best friend since 2nd grade, Cortez, works the corner 2 buildings down. He keeps a brass key blank in his pocket, the raw, uncut kind, because he's decided, quietly, that he'll be a locksmith one day, learn the trade at Whitfield's counter, open his own shop with his name stamped into the glass. Out here, everybody carries something that isn't a weapon and isn't product. It's how you agree, without saying it, that this is a hallway and not a room. You start leaving folded bills under the sugar tin at home. 60, 80, 140. It comes back every time. No note. Tucked into your jacket pocket like the apartment itself is refusing it. Your mother irons your shirt for school the same night she returns the money. Both things are true at once, And you'll spend years learning how often both things are true at once. 14 months in, Dante uses a word you've never heard outside a bank commercial: consignment. He says it like a gift. It's the most expensive vocabulary word you'll ever learn. Level 3, the package. Here's how the gift works. They hand you product worth $1,000. You owe back $650 by Sunday, no matter what happens between now and then. Whatever's left is yours. $350 clear if you move all of it. That's the pitch. Here's what nobody prints on it. The $650 is due if you're robbed, due if you're arrested, due if 3 days of unmarked cars sit on the corner like furniture and nobody buys a thing. The risk rolls downhill and stops exactly in your pocket. You've been made the only person in the chain with a guaranteed loss and an optional profit, and they called it an opportunity. You watch what the caller does to a kid named Dante, who comes up $250 short in October. Nobody touches him. Somebody just moves a decimal, and his $250 becomes $500, riding on his next 3 packages. By Thanksgiving, Dante isn't working the corner. The corner is working Dante. Credit out here isn't a bridge, it's a leash with good manners. You get disciplined the way only frightened people get disciplined. You count 3 times. You pay Saturday night instead of Sunday, a full day early, because you figured out the only credit score this economy actually keeps. Does he pay? And does he pay on time? You buy a used Civic for $2,900 cash and put the title in your cousin's name, because your own name can't hold anything yet. The car, the phone plan, even the PlayStation. Half of what you own lives under somebody else's signature. There's a difference between having money and owning something. You have money, you own nothing. The arrangement is built that way on purpose. Your mother finds a rubber-banded roll in your jacket on laundry day. She doesn't scream. She sets it on the kitchen table like evidence and asks one question: whose is it? You tell her it's from the corner store. She looks at you a long time. Then it should be easy to give back, she says, and walks out of her own kitchen. The money sits there all night, untouched, the brass key cold against your collarbone. And you learn that cash can make a room colder than the thermostat ever could. In the spring, Dante moves up, stops standing on corners, starts holding a phone and a ledger that lives entirely in his head. When a man moves up out here, he doesn't leave a vacancy behind him. He leaves a weight. He hands it to you. And by now, taking it feels less like a choice than gravity. Level 4, the phone. You're 19, and your workday ends the same way every night. Alone, blinds down, counting. You run 3 younger guys off a single phone that rings roughly 35 times a day, and every ring is worth something. By Sunday, the week grosses $5,200. After the re-up, the payroll, and the small constant bleed of doing business, about $2,100 of it stays with you. You can count 4,000 in worn bills in under 6 minutes, the only certification you hold. Here's what nobody tells you about the money. It doesn't work the way money's supposed to. It can't open a bank account without questions, can't sign a lease. Landlords want pay stubs your industry doesn't issue. Your own landlord charges $180 over market because you pay cash and can't complain to anyone about anything. You start calling it the unbanked tax and pay it on everything you touch. So the money does the only thing fast money knows how to do. It leaves fast. Sneakers at $310. A chain worn twice, then left in a drawer. You pick up every check when the crew eats. Partly generosity, mostly because the pile hidden behind the bathroom vent is a problem you can only solve $60 at a time. In March, one of your guys gets picked up 2 blocks off the strip. Bail runs $6,000, the lawyer another $4,800 before she'll say good morning. You pay both. That's the code. And a man facing years alone becomes a man with stories about who didn't help. Legal fees, you learn, aren't an emergency. They're a subscription. Your mother stops asking where the money comes from, which is worse than the asking ever was. The questions used to be a rope between the two of you. Now she's quietly let go of her end. Sunday dinners get shorter. She prays over the food a little longer. And neither of you comments on either fact. You still carry the brass key on its shoelace, though you've stopped touching it the way you used to. Dante, at 23, has a new watch and a case pending he won't discuss. Beautiful, in the specific way of something people will remember him by. At 20, you've got roughly $65,000 split across 3 hiding spots, and not one object on earth in your own name. You tell yourself that's freedom. You're 1 year from learning the actual word for it. Level 5, the exposure. You learn the word in pieces, the way you learn everything out here. In June, a boy named Julian, 16, works a corner 6 blocks over. He's killed on a Tuesday afternoon over a dispute that, once the full story reaches you, comes to $150. You run that math for a month straight, and it never balances. There is no exchange rate anywhere on Earth where a life comes out even, and everyone around you keeps making change anyway. In August, Dante's case lands. 11 years federal. You visit once because he asks you to. Through the glass, he looks smaller than his sneakers ever let him look. And near the end of the hour, he says, "You know what I'd do different?" The guard is already calling time. "Wait," he says, "everything." Then October comes, a run that needs making. Routine, 90 minutes, the kind you've done 40 times, except you're flat on your back with a 102-degree fever, sweating through the sheets, while your mother, who isn't speaking to you about anything else right now, leaves soup outside your door without knocking. So Cortez takes it. He gets stopped at 11:40 p.m. for a broken taillight. He's 21, he has one prior, and what's in the car is enough. 9 years, 4 months, for a drive that was supposed to be yours. The entire difference between his life and yours from that night forward is a fever. You go by his mother's place before the movers come, and take the key blank from his dresser drawer, the raw one he'd carried since you were both 12. You don't examine why. You just know it can't go in a box. After that, you run a private census. One night, blinds down, you count the men who were on the block the day you started. 11, including you. 2 are dead, 4 are inside, 3 are gone in the way where you don't ask. 1 is Reeves, 54 now, still renting by the week, still saying good morning to every kid who passes. 0 are rich. 6 years in this economy, and you've never met a rich old man in it. Not a rumor you could verify. Every legend you've ever heard of retired to a cell or a headstone. At night now, you still do the count, just not the money. You count exits. Level 6, the walkaway. You can't quit the street. Quitting implies it was ever a job. What you can do, if you're early and boring enough about it, is settle your account. The man everyone answers to now runs court from the back of a tire shop on Halsted. They call him Vasquez, 51, reading glasses on a chain, speaking so quietly you have to lean in, which is the entire point. You bring everything you owe, down to the dollar, plus the phone. You lay it out plainly. The exposure, the file that's been gaining weight downtown, the fever math of Cortez's sentence. Vasquez counts the money without hurrying, looks at you over the glasses, and says, "You know why you get to walk? Because you asked." Nobody asks. They get sloppy or they get greedy, and then it stops being my decision. He slides the phone into a drawer like a returned library book. The brass key is still on its shoelace under your shirt. Nobody's ever offered to buy that back. 9 days into retirement, somebody kicks in your apartment door and finds the vent behind the bathroom mirror, one of your 3 spots. The biggest one, $18,000 gone in an afternoon. The street charges an exit fee. It just doesn't post the amount in advance. You know 2 of the 3 names within a month and do nothing. Getting it back would cost more than the money, the last piece of street arithmetic you'll ever run. Some debts you eat, standing in your own kitchen, and it goes down easier than you expected. That's how you know you're already gone. What's left is a little under $44,000 in cash, and here's the joke nobody warned you about. It barely works. You'd always assumed the hard part of money was making it. The hard part is converting it. Every real door, a lease, a loan, a license, a life, asks the same polite question. Where did this come from? You don't have an answer any form will accept, so it gets spent the way a teenager spends an allowance. Rent, a used mattress, a winter coat, $20 at a time, for almost 2 years. On a Monday in March, you're 23, and you walk into Whitfield Hardware and Key. The bell coughs the exact same way it did when you were 15. Whitfield is grayer, slower on the ladder, and he looks at you for a long moment that covers everything the 2 of you are agreeing not to say. "Sweep starts at 8, he says. "Register comes later, $9.25 an hour." The offer never expired. Your first shift pays $68 before taxes. You've carried 40 times that in a single rubber band. It's the most important money of your life. Level 7. The counter. The pay stub reads 329.40, and you stare at it longer than you ever stared at 10 times as much, because this money exists on paper. your name spelled correctly across the top, and it can walk into a bank in daylight. So you do. 23, opening your first checking account, palms sweating like it's a traffic stop. The teller is 19 and bored and has no idea she's performing a baptism. You start at a credit score of nothing, which is still better, you note on the sidewalk outside, than where the other economy starts a man. Below zero, wearing a collar called consignment. You get a secured card with a $300 limit. Use it for gas, pay it off every Saturday, a day early, because you already know how reputation compounds. And both economies, it turns out, keep the same score. Does he pay? Does he pay on time? You are, it turns out, frighteningly good at this. The corner was a business school with a body count. You can eyeball inventory, smell a shipment that sat too long, read the delivery driver's Tuesday rhythm in 11 days, because you invented rhythms like it for a living once. Your drawer is never off, not by $1. Not once. Whitfield teaches you the rest out of a ledger he's kept since 1998. Margins on key blanks, spoilage on paint mixed wrong, the fact that rekeys pay almost nothing but bring the whole block through the door twice a year. The rekey is the porch light, you think, and explain the joke to absolutely no one. Year 2, you get keys to the shop itself. Year 4, Whitfield's knees finally quit, and his daughter in Raleigh wants a father, not a hardware store. He names his price on a Wednesday at the register, flat, like he's quoting you a box of screws, $135,000. You've got $11,000 saved clean out of paychecks, and finally understand the difference. That $11,000 outweighs every duffel bag you ever hid. Whitfield takes it as a down payment and holds the note himself, $1,200 a month, 8 years, his name on your paper. Halfway through signing, your pen stops because you finally recognize the structure. Take now, pay later, your name on the risk. It's the exact same machine as the package, except for what's being fronted, and except that the man holding your debt is sitting across the table, actively hoping you win. That's the entire difference between the two economies you've lived in, and it took 9 years to see it. The same word, front, means a collar or a ladder, depending only on who's rooting for you. The first thing you buy with clean money is a new refrigerator, delivered to your mother's apartment on a Saturday. You brace for the old ritual, the money finding its way back to your jacket pocket by morning. She runs one hand along the door seal. "This one I'll keep," she says. Neither of you mentions the sugar tin. Both of you are thinking about it. Level 8, the keys. In your 3rd year owning the shop, you buy the building it sits in for $310,000. The bank says yes without asking where $1 of it came from. And over 11 patient years, buy the one next to it, then 2 more down the block. The tire shop on Halstead goes to auction after Vasquez gets swept up in a federal case, and you buy that too. 2 hardware locations, 1 locksmith counter, 9 employees on real payroll with taxes and dental. The whole thing runs a little over $2.6 million on paper. You still count the register yourself some nights, under 6 minutes. Some certifications don't expire. Your mother's building gets paid off, $68,000 remaining, 1 cashier's check, and she frames the deed in the hallway like a diploma, which is exactly what it is. 9 years and 4 months after a broken tail light, you're standing outside a gate at 8 a.m. when Cortez walks out, squinting at the sun. In your pocket, a set of keys to a vacant storefront 2 doors down from your first shop, and a raw brass key blank, worn smooth from a decade in other people's pockets. "You kept it," he says. "It was collateral," you say, which is a lie. It was a promise. He apprentices under you a year, gets his locksmith license, opens the counter under his own name stamped into the glass, exactly like he said he would at 12. On the 1st of every month, his rent arrives a day early, and neither of you has ever discussed why. Not every story rounds up. Dante comes home at 34 to a daughter who calls another man dad. You give him stocking shifts he sometimes takes. You keep them open anyway. In the ledger you can't balance, Julian's $150, a fever, 9 years and 4 months, you stop trying to balance it. Some debts don't get repaid. They get repaid sideways. Then it's a Thursday in October, and through your shop's front window you see him, 14 maybe, sitting on the top step across the street, elbows on his knees, doing quiet arithmetic in his head. You know the equation by heart. A light bill, a tired mother, A refrigerator with no margin in it. A young man in clean sneakers crouches down beside him and says something short. The porch light above the boy's door flicks once. Then again, though nothing's turned onto the street yet. He's only practicing the signal. The boy laughs, then listens, then nods. You could cross the street. Some days, some kids, you do. An apron, a schedule, $11 an hour, a door that stays open. Today, you stand at your own counter, in your own building, on your own corner, and watch. Because you know exactly what $50 sounds like to a boy doing his mother's math, and no speech on earth outbids it in that particular minute. You touch the brass skeleton key, still on its shoelace after all these years, hanging now from a hook behind the register instead of around your neck. Tonight, he'll count his $50 twice under the covers, feeling for the first time like the numbers finally work. He thinks he just got hired. He thinks the porch light is where the money starts. You know what it actually is. It's where the count starts. He doesn't know yet what it costs, but he will.